What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it is time to give you my college football playoff projections heading into week number 3 of the 2023 college football season. We are now heading into officially the third week already of the college football season. Looking at my projections from last week, I've only made one change compared to, last week's projections in week number 2. Again, how this video works, I gave you my top 4 teams, pretty much, based on the performances that these teams played over the weekend, and then I gave you a semifinal prediction and also a national championship prediction week by week. And again, this is just based off of how the teams played over the weekend. But again, these are just projections. These are not just, predictions. These are just projections based off of how the teams played. And again, according to my playoff projections from last week, like I said, I've only made one change to my playoff projections. So we're going to get right into it here. Let's go to the bracket for the college football playoff. And here is the bracket for the college football playoff this year. Again, the number 1 versus number 4 matchup will be held in the Sugar Bowl. And then the number 2 versus number 3 matchup will be held in the Rose Bowl. So let's go to my number 1 seed. No change here for my number 1 seed. That team is still going to be Georgia. I think this is still the best team in the country for right now. I know they haven't played anybody that great yet and anybody that good yet, but I think Georgia's going to kind of prove that this weekend. They're going to be playing South Carolina this weekend. That's going to be, that's going to be their first real test, but not really their first true test. I think they won't get that until maybe like Auburn on the road. Maybe Tennessee could be a scare in that game, but other than that, I think Georgia has, again, the easiest path to make it to the college football playoff this year. Again, their schedule is not all that tough. I just don't really see them losing a regular season game. And, based off of the performance against Ball State, I know they were scoreless in that first quarter, but I think this is still a really good Georgia team. Carson Beck seems to get better at quarterback as well. So Georgia here, again, no change here for me. They were at number 1 for me last week, and they're number 1 for me for the 3rd straight week in a row. Let's go to my number 2 seed. No change here either to my Rose Bowl number 2 seed, and that's going to be Michigan. I know they haven't been very impressive on the offensive side of the football for the first couple weeks. The Big Ten, they haven't really had that kind of explosive offense yet. Michigan and Ohio State haven't really found their offenses yet in the first couple weeks. We had to see Michigan, play a really good team in order for me to kind of call their offense very dangerous, and the same thing goes to Ohio State. But Michigan, I think the reason why their offense is kind of a little bit shaky is because, again, Jim Harbaugh is suspended. They will get him back, after the 3rd game of the season, which is coming up this weekend, and then they'll have him for next week to start conference play. So that's the good news there. You get Jim Harbaugh back after the 3rd game of the season. And Michigan, I think, will stay here at number 2 for me. But they're number 2 for me here in my college football playoff projections for the 3rd straight week in a row. Again, similar to Georgia, they're kind of, just a very good overall team. I just think this is the 2nd best team in the country behind Georgia. So, again, no changes here for my number 1 and my number 2 seeds here. Let's go now to my number 3 seed. No change here for me at my number 3 seed. I had them here at number 3 last week, just based off of their performance in week number 1, and that team is obviously going to be Florida State. Florida State, very impressive win against their non-conference team in their 2nd game of the season, and then they also beat LSU a couple weeks ago. I'm still very impressed with this team after their win against LSU, and I think this is going to be a really good Florida State team. I mean, you can already tell in the first couple weeks that their offense has been very explosive. Jordan Travis looks like he already knows how to be really good on the offensive side of the football. And I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the ACC for right now. But, again, Florida State hasn't really played anybody that tough yet. I mean, I guess LSU can call them tough, but, LSU really quit in that second half. So Florida State here at number 3. Again, no change here for my number 3 seed. My number 4 seed, though, I made a change here. Last week I had Alabama here at number 4. But this week I got Texas here at number 4. Texas beat Alabama this past weekend, a big-time win there. I was very impressed with their offense and their defense. Their defensive line really won the line of scrimmage. And, offensively, they still got some work to do. They're not like a very explosive offense. But, again, defensively, they just dominated the line of scrimmage. And, they really stopped Alabama, not making any of those explosive plays down the field. They also pressured Jalen Moreau on the line of scrimmage as well and forced him to kind of throw bad throws down the field as well. So Texas here at number 4. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming here Texas being in my playoff projections. I definitely did not have them in my playoff projections all year long. So again, these are my top 4 teams for week number 3 of these projections. Again, the only change I made was the number 4 seed. I mean, that's going to continue to change throughout the rest of the few weeks. I mean, Texas obviously joining for the first time, but again, can they win out? That's going to be the question there. Can they win out for the rest of the year? They still have to play Oklahoma on the schedule, which I think they'll be their toughest game there. TCU, which I don't think TCU is going to be a really good team considering that they lost, to Colorado and everything. But these are my top 4 teams: Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State. Those haven't changed over the weekend. And then Texas is my big change here at number 4. So, and then you look at my projections from last week. I had Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and also Alabama. But based off of their performance against Texas, I had to put them back here because now they have lost a regular season game. And Texas beat them. So, I mean, I have to put them here at number 4. So, again, I had Alabama at number 4. But this week I got Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and Texas as my top 4 teams. So let's get into predictions now. If these games were to happen over the weekend, we'll start with the Sugar Bowl here, Georgia and Texas. I think this would be a great defensive battle here in this one. I know Georgia wasn't good in the first quarter against Ball State, but they're still a very dangerous team. Texas, though, based on their performance against a top 5 team in Alabama, I'm going to go with the Longhorns here. I do like Texas here to get the win over Georgia. I know a lot of people are not going to agree with this pick. But again, Georgia hasn't played anybody that tough. And with Texas beating Alabama this past weekend, I'm going to go ahead and go with Texas here just because based off of their performance against, Alabama in that game. So I'm going to go with the Longhorns here to move on to the national championship game. And then we got Florida State and Michigan, the same matchup that we had from last week. Michigan, again, their first couple weeks on offense have not been really good, but Florida State for them, their offense has just been very explosive, and I'm still, really impressed with their win against LSU in that first game. The first couple games of Florida State has been really good. I do like Florida State here in this game. I'm going to go with Florida State for the second straight week in a row. If Michigan can get their offense going, they will definitely move on to the national championship for me, but I've just been really impressed with Florida State in the first couple games. All right, so we got Texas and Florida State here in the national championship, the number 3 versus number 4 matchup. I mean, how would this be, like seeing number 3 versus number 4 in the national title game instead of the top 2 teams? That would be very interesting, but again, this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection just based on how the teams played. Texas and Florida State, I think both of these teams are pretty even, especially on defensive, on the defensive side of the football. They both have veteran experienced players on both sides of the football, but Florida State, I've been really, really impressed with their offense in the first couple weeks, and I'm just still very impressed with their win over LSU. So with that being said, I do like Florida State here to beat Texas here in the national title game. It will be a close game, but I think Florida State pulls away, and I think they do knock off Texas here. So Florida State was my pick last week for the national championship projection and everything, and I'm going to pick them for the second straight week in a row. I've just been very impressed with the Seminoles so far this year. So these are my college football playoff week 3 projections heading into the third weekend of the college football season. Let me guys know what you think about these projections. Who do you think should join here in my projections? Do you agree or disagree with these projections? Let me know down in the comments below. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.